皆さんこんにちは。ジャーナリストの岩上安身です。今日は大変素晴らしいお客様をお招きしております。日本に救う4つの怪物、これが新刊のタイトルであり表紙なんですけれども、怪物というところにですね、安倍さんとオバマさんが写っておりますが、これをお書きになられましたカレル・バン・ウォルフレンさん、もう皆さんおなじみ、日本権力構造のエニグマ、その他たくさんの著作を載していらっしゃるジャーナリストで、そしてアムステル大学今名誉教授でもいらっしゃいます。今日はウォルフレンさんをお招きして、お届けいたします。ウォルフレンさん、よろしくお願いします。じゃあお話を早速スタートしたいと思いますけれども、ウォルフレンさんはこのご本に入る前にですね、今日ちょっとタイムリーなトピックを一つまずお話をしたいと思っております。というのは、選挙がこの日曜日行われましたけれども、それが明けてすぐ日本の東証が株価が下落しました。みんな心配をしております。で、その株価が下落した理由は何か。アメリカの株価下落に引きずられている。じゃあアメリカの株価下落は何で起こっているのか。これは石油価格が暴落していると、ずっと下がっていると、ここに起因していると、こういう問題が起こっているわけですね。さらにその石油価格の暴落によってロシアのルーブルがほとんど叩き売られるような状態になっています。今世界が何が起こっているのか。日本人は自分たちの国の選挙のことで頭いっぱいなんですが、世界どうも今大変なことが起きているらしい。もしかしたら金融恐慌が起きるんじゃないかという声さえあっております。この問題から今日ちょっとスタートしたいと思います。
It's very clear that things are happening that most people, almost all people, do not understand and are not aware of. And that they have to do with an American campaign to bring great damage to the Russian economy. And that is part of a bigger political story, of course. But the oil prices are part of that. Also, other deals in the financial world, financial transactions, etc., the same thing. It's complex, and most people cannot follow that anyway. But under the current circumstances, they can't follow it at all. But it is very important to realize it. And anybody who is interested in the future of Japan or Europe or the world should pay attention, I think.
ちょっとパワポを見ていただきたいんですけれども、これがですね、北海ブレントという代表的な指標なんですね。原油先物相場の指標。これをご覧になっていただくと分かると思うんですけれども、2009年というのは本当に価格が安かったわけですが、これはリーマンショックの影響もあって、需要が落ちてですね、原油価格がすごい下がってたんですね。ところがそれが景気が回復してから以降、120ドル、1バレルあたり120ドル、もしくはですね、100ドルの間でずっとここのところ推移してました。ところがここへ来てですね、11月の終わり28日の終わりね、70ドルですよ。でこれ60ドルを切るとですね、サウジアラビアですら採算が合わなくなってくると言われています。これが、今起こっていることですね。そしてその結果、この指標もぜひご覧になっていただきたいんですが、ルーブル通貨の暴落です。これは対ドル相場ですけれども、ほとんどフリーフォールみたいな感じに落ちています。これを見て、今ウォルフレンさんはこれ政治的な出来事だと、これが通常の経済活動で起こっていることだと我々には思えない。ウォルフレンさん打ち合わせの時に爆笑しながらですね、当たり前だって、こんなのは政治的な取引の産物なんだというふうにおっしゃってました。まずそこの政治的な、結果なんだということの意味をですね、教えていただきたいと思います。
Yes, it's very important to realize that all this is not a result of market forces. That's nonsense. It's purposely triggered, all these movements. And it has to do with a campaign to weaken Russia, to weaken the Russian economy, to try to create conditions in Russia that will cause the downfall of Putin. For several reasons. The United States wants to get rid of Putin, and it has tried to do that. Also with the Ukraine crisis, which is triggered by the United States. And many people in Europe and Japan do not understand this, do not have enough knowledge of the background to understand this. But this is also a part of it. And there is an important aspect to this that must be kept in mind. That inside Russia, also among the friends of Putin, and Putin himself, there has been too much a commitment to neoliberal economic principles. And it is not understood that neoliberalism, also as it is practiced under Abe in Japan, that neoliberalism creates a situation for American hegemony. This is very important. It is something for American economic imperialism. That's neoliberalism, most importantly. I have studied this in the context of the European Union, and I have drawn that conclusion about 2 years ago. And you can see it again here. The Chinese have been much more clever by understanding what could happen. And they have not made the Chinese currency freely convertible. But of course Russia, under Putin's predecessor and under Yeltsin, Russia was given over in many respects to the vagaries of so-called market forces, but it was in fact transatlantic capitalism, and it was terrible for Russia, a terrible effect. And I think that the most important thing for Putin to do is to understand that he has to free himself from this if he wants to survive.
この今起きている問題を理解するためには大変広い視野が必要だと思います。この石油価格の下落によってルーブル、ロシアが大変大きなダメージを得ていますけれども、実はその、きっかけを作っているのはサウジアラビアやカタールのような産油国なんですね。彼らはものすごい勢いでこの価格が下がっているにもかかわらず増産を続けています。これと同じことは実はかつてもありました。1980年代後半、つまりソ連が崩壊に向かっている時にですね、彼らはサウジはアメリカの依頼によって石油を増産し、石油価格を下げ、それによって、この石油や天然ガスの輸出によって経済を成り立たせているソ連、現在のロシアをですね弱体化させて、ついには冷戦の終わり、ソ連邦の崩壊に導いたわけです。そのことを思い出さずにはいられません。
Yes, I think that this was a factor, but there were so many other factors that it's, I think, better to think of it as things happening in concert, happening at the same time. But there were quite a few other factors. And I think that we must remember that the Soviet Union could no longer exist with the same principles after Gorbachev had, as it were, taken out the fundamental ideology of communism out of the governing system. So there were many factors. This helped, I think, but I do not think that at that time the United States was trying to create chaos in the Soviet Union or Russia, because they were not prepared for that. I think it's a big story, and only parts of the story have been told. And we have to be very careful to go back that far, because if we make a mistake in our analysis, we can miss the very important things happening right now, and of which we can be pretty sure because the evidence is overwhelming. And we should talk about the things for which the evidence is overwhelming, I think. And American motivation in the late stages of the Soviet Union, before it disintegrated, and American motivation today is different.
今のアメリカのモチベーションというのはどういうものだとお考えなんですか？
I think that today we have a very strange situation in the United States because there is no central core to the United States that is creating a strategy that is worth the name strategy. Because there are many important, powerful entities in the United States that live a life of their own and that are not under effective political control. Certainly, the American president is not in control of the situation. Congress is not in control of the situation. But things happen, things are being pushed that are welcomed by certain elements that have become very strong, including the neoconservatives. They are stronger now than they have been under George W. Bush, which is, many people don't know this. Also another group, especially powerful in the White House and the State Department, called the Responsibility to Protect, the R2P. And of course, we have the business world and financial institutions. So it so happens that now the idea of killing Russia, or killing the Russian Federation as it is, and getting rid of Putin, suits various elements in the United States. And they have started a propaganda campaign that's unbelievable, unbelievably effective. Also in Europe. In Europe, it's amazing. I have never seen anything in my life how very strongly this anti-Putin propaganda has become. In also quite a few publications that were considered left-wing and anti-American neoconservatives and so on. But they don't understand it, what is happening. It's really something quite unusual, which we have not seen before. Now, I think that something must be added, because all this can be seen from the perspective of what the American military has long ago started to call the full spectrum dominance, which means mastery over the whole world. Russia and China are not willing vassals of the United States like Japan and the European countries are. And so those two countries, Russia and China, have to be isolated and have to be contained. And all the efforts of these countries to become part of a general trading system in the international world are being sabotaged. You can see it very clearly in the way that the very interestingly growing economic relations between Germany and Russia are being sabotaged by Washington. It's very sad, it's very tragic, it doesn't help the world, it is very bad for everybody, of course, including the United States. But then the United States has been doing a lot of things in the past 10 years or so that is very much against American interests.